Cool. Next up, my hint to you, I'll make it a pretty obvious one. Statement.
Did you say statement?
Statement.
What?
Should I specify statements?
Oh, is it my team?
It is. It's the New York Red Bulls.
Gotcha. See, I'm thinking statement win, statement like performance.
Listen, I'm not gonna just hand you the guess. You got to figure it out. Use that noggin of yours. Red Bull is currently sitting at 1 win, 4 draws, and 2 losses this season. 11th place in the East. Top player for me has been Caceres. I'm going to go Caceres here. I was looking at his numbers. One of the actually really cool parts of FBref, the FBref site, is they do, if you've played 450 or more minutes, they will do a comparison with a lot of the stats compared to players in a similar position. Caceres had really good numbers percentile wise, pretty much across the board. I mean, it looked like from what I was seeing there that he has been playing well. I mean, he's been one of their better players for the last couple of seasons. But yeah, I mean, obviously Red Bull hasn't been at their peak this season, so I think Caceres is always going to be a safe play in that regard for top player.
Mine was John Tolkien. I think he's still filling in to those roles that they're expecting him to play. That being said, he leads the team in assists right now. He is consistently involved on both sides of the ball. And he's got that little like F you, I'm better than you attitude that you need to have at that age. So I don't expect him to be around much longer. I do enjoy the Caceres shout. I did try and, again, switch it up a little bit because I had a feeling that one was coming. Big fan of Caceres, you know that. Yeah, like I said, there's not a lot to pick from a team that doesn't score very often. So,
Are my picks that predictable?
kind of.
All right. So then who did I pick for most impressive?
Andres Reyes.
I hate you. I really hate you. Yes, I picked Andres Reyes. I think he and Nealis have formed a pretty decent partnership in the back line. I think that I had concerns for him over his like disciplinary record and how he loves to rack up yellow cards and red cards, but I think him and Nealis have formed a pretty solid partnership back there. And I would say the defense has definitely not been the problem area for Red Bull. It's definitely been more so on the attacking side of things. So I think he's been a pleasant surprise for Red Bull this year.
Yep, he's also mine. I mean, we sold Aaron Long with the expectation that he steps in and is just lights out, and he has absolutely lived up to the task. Unfortunately, we're not doing it on the other end. So, why don't we just move on to your least impressive pick, which is Luquinhas?
Do you have my sheet in front of you? Do you want to just do the whole episode for me? You could
Yeah, I
just
mean,
say
listen,
all my answers.
Luquinhas, your massive, multi-million-dollar designated player attacking mid signing, supposed to be pulling the strings for your multi-million-dollar designated player strikers who are not getting time anyway, and will not be getting time for the next, hopefully, foreseeable future. Yeah, he ghosts, right? He will come in and be fantastic for 60 minutes and then disappear for 360. It's just not good enough. So um, he's been extremely disappointing. There are lots of people writing into the Seeing Red podcast, one of my favorite Red Bull podcasts. Shout out Mark and Joe, who are saying that it's time for him to go, right? And his numbers don't back up the price tag, and I wouldn't doubt if he's on his way out, hopefully for something like substantial, but he could leave on a free and nobody would bat their eyes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you've got 5 goals this year. You're gonna have to point the finger at your big time attackers. You know, Dante's just got here, hasn't really gotten his shot in terms of a starting opportunity, but Luquinhas was here. He played almost 2,000 minutes last season. This was his, he had the off season. You'd expect him to. This is the point where he starts to kind of pick things up and show some promise, but He's got 1 goal to show for so far in 6 games. It's considering the team's got 5 goals. It's got to be better from your big name attacker.
Yeah, it's disappointing, right? You're obviously going to tell me that they're underachieving, so we could
Yeah,
probably just skip right past that because everybody thought they'd be at least in a playoff picture right now, pushing for competition in the at least top half of this conference, and they have been nothing short of disappointing. And they will continue to be that way, considering that the main impact that made our decision what it was the fact that their designated player striker scored 10 goals in 20 games in Belgium and had a lot of really dynamic movement. And now he's gone for it. My guess, if I had to guess, he is gone until at least All-Star break. At least. If they do this correctly, and I'm not going to dive into this, this is a whole nother conversation, but if they do it correctly, it should be at least until the All-Star break. That dude shouldn't see the field for another 3 months. At the very least. Anyways, moving on. You're going to ask me a question like, oh, I don't know. Are they actually a playoff team? Something along those lines.
um, I guess kind of similar. My question was, is this a slump or are you actually bad?
There you go. Yeah, about that.
Close
Um,
enough.
so here's the thing, and I really, really, and you know how much I love to do it. I really don't want to go on to a Red Bull tangent today because we have a lot to cover. But here's the deal: we have gone through since Jesse Marsh, we've gone through 4 head coaches, multiple designated player signings, multiple youth system signings, and multiple intra league moves. At some point, you have to look at not the players in the system, but the people putting the system in place. Red Bull football will never be successful long term. It's ugly, it's nasty. You will never there's no system that happens in this team. Like you don't get into the attacking phase of the game. You're like, okay, they're going to try this movement, have this guy check in, keep the ball. It is kick, run, dump, hope you win the second ball. They're bringing in players like Luquinhas, like Dante Vanzier, like Elias Manuel, Lewis Morgan, players that don't succeed well when they don't have the ball. Luquinhas needs to be on the ball to be successful. If you have him running around 6 miles a game without the ball versus 2 miles with the ball, you won't be successful. You will see him be poor. And I think that's the issue is that we aren't recognizing that the system of play for the players that we have is starting to hurt them more than help. Because teams are starting to figure it out. We're not winning that first ball or we're not getting the second ball. And then it's over because we're not strong enough to finish the ball. It's disappointing. It's ugly. I think it's a slump because it always is in this sense where we turn it around right towards, you know, August, right before playoffs. We'll get on a run and we'll figure it out and we'll look kind of decent just to sneak into the playoffs. But I don't think we actually suck. I think we've got a lot of good players here that just need to figure it
All right. Let's leave it there on that. Next up, we have got what's a good hint for this one? I'll say rock and roll.
Nashville.
Very good. Nashville is currently sitting at 3 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses, putting them in 5th place in the Eastern Conference. For me, I'm gonna probably go with a bit of a surprising one here on top player. I'm gonna go Walker Zimmerman. Considering the team has conceded 2 goals the entire year, I think he deserves the top shout here, even though Hani is obviously a very good second choice. I'll call it 1A, 1B. But I'll go Walker Zimmerman considering I figure you have Hani.
I did have Hani, but I would remove that if we were going to focus on that side and go maybe somebody like, I don't know, Joe Willis or Shaq Moore, right? Joe Willis in the goal, of course, being the GOAT, and then Shaq Moore not only helping out on the defensive end, but with 2 assists on the front end as well. Um, but yeah, Hani, I like Hani. Hani is my pick, but those are the other 2 I would consider if I was looking at the defensive end of the ball. 1 goal, 3 assists, and just over 500 minutes played. I mean, The dude steps on the field after a couple months of injury, and he's just electric.
Speaking of electric, who to
Nice.
you has been the most surprisingly electric player this season, aka the most impressive?
So going away from that, Jacob Schaffelberg has been fantastic. And we talked so bad about this move. Oh, Gary Smith is laughing at us. I know he listens to our podcast. So, Gary, we're
Of course.
sorry. Um, you are just, you are doing something magical. So, here's the deal, right? Jacob Schaffelberg in Toronto as a left back, awful, right? When we didn't like him, he was bad as a left back. You put him in the attack with somebody who can feed him properly, and he turns into a good player. It's magic. So big fan of his rise to where he is at now. Hope he continues it.
Yeah. Um, would you kill me if I said Alex Muyl?
As most impressive,
No, least impressive.
no, because I had him for half a minute until I realized the reason he's least impressive is because Gary Smith has ruined his career.
I was kidding anyway. I also just
I know, so was
completely
I.
forgot to give my most impressive. But yes, I am on board the Jacob Schaffelberg most impressive train. So my least impressive player for Nashville here, considering they only have 6 goals this season, I'm gonna go CJ Sapong here. Might be a bit harsh, but considering he has played almost 300 minutes and has 0 goals, 0 assists, I know that I'm not gonna fully, put a lot of blame on him as the number 9 problem with Nashville, but he was their guy. What was it, 2 seasons ago, where he put in a really good season for them.
Yeah, like
Uh,
18 goals or something like that.
yeah, he had a strong season, good number of goals and good number of assists as well, but seems to kind of have cooled off a bit here in this season. And a strong number 9 would do wonders for this team, honestly.
Yep, that's mine too. So
Cool.
yeah, everything you just said you hit. So I won't try and.
All right, so I didn't really do it the same way that you did in terms of looking at predictions. So I don't remember where I predicted Nashville finishing, but I will say I think this team is slightly underachieving at the moment because I think if they could figure it out in the attack, then this team is a legit contender in the East for top of the East because I think them conceding 2 goals is not a fluke. This team genuinely has that defensive ability, but them only scoring 6 goals so far is definitely underwhelming. And I think is something that they can improve upon, uh, especially if Hani can start getting it going in terms of scoring goals like he did last year. So I think they can do a little bit better than what they're doing at the moment.
I've got them at neither over or under. I think they're right about where they need to be. I didn't put them in that top level because of that lack of striker ability we've been talking about. But I did have them as a legit playoff team because they don't give up goals very easily. They're very well versed in what they have to do, and um, I think that middle of the playoffs in the East is right about where they belong. So I'm happy with it.
Cool. My question for you: if they get a legit number 9, are they in contention with LAFC, FCC, and Seattle for Supporter Shield?
No, they're more than one away. I mean, you've got now Seattle's riding high on the Jordan Morris Leo Chu combo. Um, St. Louis. Did you put St. Louis in there?
No.
Oh, thank goodness. I just saw them next to each other on my list. That's why I'm like, wait a second. LAFC, of course, is up there. Did you say Austin?
I said FCC.
FCC. Okay. FCC's got a group. LAFC's got a group. And again, it focuses more on one player, right? But they already have that one player. They need at least 2 more, I think, to complement him. I think they're more than just one player away.
Okay.